Good morning, Bravo bosses, and welcome to I Take Bravo Very Seriously with me, your host, Dana. Those of you watching on YouTube are probably wondering, Dana, what are you wearing? And it is my merch, you guys. I think it's so cute. So I've got a little hat here saying I Take Bravo Very Seriously, so check it out if you're on the YouTube. And then my t-shirt says Bravo Bosses. I'll raise up a little bit so you can see my boobs and my bosses. Bravo Bosses, there you go. It's so comfortable, so cute. I'm loving the hat, especially because I'm having a really bad hair day right now. I even bought a bunch of other things, so I'll be wearing them throughout the podcast episodes as they go on, because honestly, you guys, most of my wardrobe is merch. It has been since pretty much COVID. I love merch. You guys have seen me wear like something about her merch, Jax and Brittany merch. And as soon as I got signed with Hurrdat Media, they were like, "Do you want merch?" I'm like, "Yes, 100%. I love merch." So here we are with merch. Please, if you want to buy anything, check it out on hurrdatmedia.com. And then you can just look up I Take Bravo Very Seriously and you can see all the merch for my show. And you can also see the merch for other people's shows, but you can also see the merch for my show. So there's also these really cute toques, and I'll probably wear it next time. They come in black, they come in hot pink. I bought the hot pink one. And the only thing that didn't deliver, because I had to have these things delivered to my friend in the US because it was only US shipping. So something else ended up delivering a little bit later because my friend ended up coming to visit me this past weekend from West Virginia. Her name is Amber. You'll know her as Breaking the Rules pod clips on Instagram. So that was really fun to have her here and her husband this past weekend. And it really worked out in terms of the timing of when I had my merch shipped to her house in West Virginia, and then she brought it to me, but one thing came separate. So it was a mug, and the mug says, I take Bravo very seriously, so it offends me when people think they can just watch it. And I hope you get the quote, but if those of you are new here, you might not know what the name of the show means. So I thought I would actually drop that little ditty to tell you guys what the show actually stands for those of you who are new or who maybe just aren't aware. Way back in season 3 or 4, I think it was season 4 of Vanderpump Rules, this is when Kristen and Ariana were not in a good place. And the whole crew was at the beach, and everybody was talking about this sketch comedy show that Kristen was going to be in. And Ariana was asking, like, well, does Kristen take like sketch classes or anything like that? And Sheena's like, oh, like, I don't really know. And Ariana's like, well, I take sketch comedy very seriously, so it offends me when people think they can just, do it. And I just, everyone's quotes way back then were like, I take sketch comedy very seriously. So when I started this show, I thought it would be really fun to call it I Take Bravo Very Seriously after our beloved Ariana Madix. So that was quite a mouthful of an intro I just had here, but welcome to the show. Happy Monday. I hope everyone had a good week. Like I said, I had a really interesting week. I had a short work week, and then I had my friend Amber here with her husband. I ended up being sick for part of it, and I'm still dealing with issues with my dog, so I couldn't spend a ton of time with them, but it was so great to see them. And it was so funny because when they crossed the border agent asked like what they were doing in Canada, and they were like, "Oh, we're coming to visit like a stranger we met on the internet." I'm like, "Don't say that." And she's like, "I don't want to lie." I'm like, "You're not lying. Say you're visiting a friend." And like, yeah, we've technically never met in person. So it was really cool to meet in person. And it's funny because we end up having these relationships with people we meet online, especially in the content creator world. And you kind of forget that you've never actually met in real life because we end up talking on the phone and FaceTiming and all this stuff. But it was really good to have like a real hug with my friend, and we've met, or sorry, we started talking about a year ago now. She asked me to come on her podcast, and we did a whole series for Special Forces when Sandoval was on it. And she's been such an amazing friend to me ever since. So hi, Amber, and thank you for coming. And it was so great. So hope everyone had a great week. What else did I want to get into before we get into the news? Well, I guess that's it. I can pretty much get into the news now. As you guys know, I skipped the Real Housewives of OC episode 9 last week because I was doing what do you call it? The Mormon Wives, and I just really wanted to dedicate the whole episode to the Mormon Wives. So I felt like, you know what, I'll skip OC, I'll do it this week. And so we can pretty much get right into the news. Oh, I had a couple of things to tell you guys. So I'm going to be podcasting next week with Mandy Slutzker from the podcast Is This Real Life? And we're going to be basically doing a swap. So we're going to be covering Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And I'm going to ask her if she wants to do OC as well, because you guys, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City comes back September 18th. Roni comes back October 1st, and Real Housewives of Potomac comes back October 6th. So the drought is over. I will be covering it all. I don't know about Potomac because, like, I'm gonna start by covering it, but we'll just see how it goes because the trailer came out this week and it sucked. It was just kind of plain boring. Like usually the trailer is supposed to give you that oomph, that excitement, that thing that makes you want to watch it. It's supposed to have the most drama in it, and it was just sort of lackluster. So it leaves me worried that this is going to be another lackluster season. Who knows? But it just didn't give me hope. So I will say I will start by covering it, but we'll sort of see how it goes as the season progresses. So I just want to give an update on Artem Chigvintsev and Nikki Bella because a few weeks back I reported there was that domestic violence incident between them where Artem ended up being arrested and charged. So then Nikki Garcia, whatever you want to call her, has since filed for divorce from Artem. And then the other day, this news comes out from Us Weekly. This is the title of the article. Artem Chigvintsev requests joint custody, spousal support in response to Nikki Garcia divorce filing. So I'm going to read this article from September 13th from Us Weekly. So it says, Artem Chigvintsev has responded to estranged wife's Nikki Garcia's divorce filing. Chigvintsev, 42, cited irreconcilable differences. I always have trouble saying that word. Irreconcilable differences as the reason for his split from Garcia, 40, in documents filed on Friday, September 13th, and exclusively obtained by Us Weekly. The Dancing with the Stars pro listed the date of separation as August 29th, the same day he was arrested for domestic violence in Napa Valley, California. Chigvintsev is asking for joint legal and physical custody of their 4-year-old son, Mateo. Garcia, however, is requesting sole legal and physical custody of their only child. He is also requesting spousal support from Garcia. Additionally, he is asking that the former WWE star pay his attorney's fees and costs. According to the docs, Chigvintsev is claiming punitive spouse status from August 26, 2022 to January 19, 2023. A putative spouse is someone who believes they are legally married but is actually in an invalid marriage. The couple got married in France in August 2022, but the docs say they married stateside the following January. The professional dancer's response filing comes 2 days after Garcia filed paperwork of her own, Cuss confirmed. News of the couple's split comes nearly 2 weeks after Chigvintsev was arrested for domestic battery in Napa. According to online jail records, he was booked for a felony domestic violence charge on August 29th. A rep from Garcia has addressed the news in a statement to us 1 day later, noting, "This is a private matter, and Nikki asks for privacy for her and her family at this time." In a 911 dispatch recording obtained by TMZ, Chigvintsev was heard requesting medical attention and accused Garcia, who once wrestled for WWE under the name Nikki Bella, of throwing shoes at him. He later called back and said he no longer needed medical assistance. Garcia and Chigvintsev met in 2017 when they were partnered for Dancing with the Stars season 25. At the time, Garcia was still dating ex-fiance John Cena. After splitting from Cena in 2018, she began dating Chigvintsev the following year. In January 2020, Garcia announced that she and Chigvintsev got engaged after dating for less than 1 year. The duo welcomed son Mateo in July of that year, and they tied the knot in a televised ceremony on E! in 2022. 1 year later, many fans had speculated whether or not Chigvintsev and Garcia had legally tied the knot. "We're legally married in France and in the United States," Garcia told us in January of last year. "I think because we have our marriage records confidential, people went and searched and they didn't find it." So that's interesting. I thought that you can't be legally married in a country where you are not the resident. So, like when people do destination weddings, my understanding is that those are not legal, that you still have to get legally married, like at the courthouse, you still have to get the paperwork done where you're from. So I don't know if you can actually be legally married in France, but regardless, she said to Us Weekly that they were legally married in the US. I'm not sure how much this will affect things. I mean, it would affect spousal support because, okay, well, first of all, the fact that this man is requesting spousal support pisses me off. You are an able-bodied, capable man of working. Why are you asking your wife for spousal support? It is such a gaslighty, manipulative thing to do. It reminds me of the whole Rachel Lindsay and Brian Abasolo thing. Like, that man is a doctor. He's a chiropractic doctor. Go get a job. Get a job as a chiropractor. You don't have to open your own practice. Go work for somebody else and get patients that way. You could work for a chain. It's such bullshit. And same with this. Like, this man, I mean, I don't know if he's still on Dancing with the Stars, Artem, but like, he has many other opportunities. He's been on many other kinds of shows. He could do many other kinds of things. I'm sure he has brand deals, lots of other stuff going on. So to ask for that is just so gross, in my opinion. So that's first of all, but I think it matters when they were married in terms of spousal support because it'll matter how many years they were legally married. So I don't know if we're going to hear more on this dance, LOL. I just sort of feel like I am shocked how this whole thing turned out. But like I said, and like we always say, you never know someone until they have screwed you over, right? And this just shows who he really is. So last week, Jax Taylor did an episode of When Reality Hits because, as you'll recall, him and Brittany are basically going 1 week on, 1 week off with their podcast. And he did basically an AMA with questions from fans. So some of the highlights were that he is neighbors with Schwartz. A lot of people thought maybe he was living with Schwartz, but he's not living with Schwartz. He's living in like the neighboring townhouse complex or like in the same townhouse complex. And the way he explained it, I sort of can't really disagree with. He's like, look, he's my best friend. He can help me out with things that I need. He can help me with crews. I don't see the problem with living close to my best friend. And honestly, like if I was going through a divorce and separation, I would also want to live close to my best friend. Like Lala is living basically next door to Sheena in Palm Springs and in LA. So, they help each other out and all of that stuff. So I can't really knock it as much as it is sort of funny for them to have ended up where they started in a way. It's a little bit funny. Um, he talked a lot about what he would have done differently in his relationship with Brittany. So I'm actually going to just play you guys a clip from that so you can get a sense of what he was saying. Let me just find it. Give me a sec. Where are you, Jax Taylor? Here we go.
A little longer. I wish we didn't rush our wedding as fast as we did. I wish we would have took a little more time on that. I wish I would have not rushed my relationship with Brittany so quickly. I think the fact that I rushed it so fast because she moved here from Kentucky, I think things moved a little quicker than they should have. I don't think that we got to know each other as well as we should have in the beginning. Now, that being said, we've been together 10 years. We know everything about each other. But if you're asking me to go back, what would I have done different? That was what I would have done different. I don't think I would have just probably asked her to move in so quickly. I would have tried to be girlfriend and boyfriend a little bit longer. I think, maybe that was one of my downfalls, that I rushed everything so quickly. Obviously, my anger got in the way. My ego got in the way of a lot of things. My what's the word I'm looking for? I was very aggressive. I was very entitled. I had such entitlement. There's a lot of things I wish I could take back, especially now that I can reflect and look back, and especially after being in the facility, I can look back and be like, okay, this is what I did wrong, and I can look back and like, well, this happened because this, and this happened because of that, and if I wouldn't have done this, then this wouldn't have happened. So, I mean, it's easier to say, yes, I wish I'd take all these things away, but these are all mistakes that I made, and I'm learning from them. But those are the things. I know that's probably going to surprise a lot of people, but yeah, I wish I would have really have gotten to know Brittany as a girlfriend, boyfriend quicker, or a little bit slower than just rushing into our relationship. I think that maybe taken a little bit of a toll on us too.
So a lot of people online sort of came at this with like, okay, well, like, what would that have made a difference if they were engaged longer, if they had dated longer? And probably nothing. But I do sort of appreciate him saying, and don't come at me, guys, like I'm no Jax Taylor lover, trust me. I'm with you guys. He has me blocked just like everybody else, okay? But I do appreciate him acknowledging that he rushes into things and does things quickly because you guys remember the scene. It was like back in season 4 when Brittany joined, and like there was everyone was like in the back alley of Sir. I think it was Sheena and Katie, and Jax brings Brittany in because he's gonna have her try to interview with Lisa. And Sheena's like, do you have a key already? Are you moving in? Because that was Jax's thing, right? He would get a girlfriend within a minute, have her move in within 10 seconds, just boom, 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 doing things so fast. So I don't disagree that he shouldn't have rushed things with her in every respect, because rushing into relationships isn't good, and it is good to take the time to get to know somebody. So that's not wrong, you guys. I agree. I think that makes sense. So don't come at me for that, especially what I'm going to tell you next, because Jax then admits that he's a narcissist. And I was just like, holy crap, I can't believe we're actually getting this on tape. So I'm going to play this clip for you guys right now.
Many people online think you're a narcissist. Do you agree? I'm gonna be honest with this. Yes, I do agree. I literally have just learned probably 5 new terms that I've never learned before that I do, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I do all of them, and I've done them all for years, and I had no idea. I breadcrumb, breadcrumbing, or what is it called? Cookie crumb breadcrumbing. I I am a narcissist. Yes. Um, I love bomb. That's another one. Gaslighting. Um, I'm missing some, but I do all these things, and I had no idea there was terms for these things, and I was like, Jesus. I look up the definition for all these new terms. I'm like, oh my god, I do that. Oh my god, I do that. I do that too. I'm like, I don't even know how to talk anymore without being labeled as one of these things. So, yes, I have to humble myself and say, do you think you're a narcissist? And I do. I do. I don't know how I became one. I do believe I'm a narcissist. I'm not a doctor, so I can't like say that for sure. But by just looking up the definition, I have to agree. I have to agree with people calling me a narcissist. I can't fight them on that because I do have pretty much everything that's labeled under a narcissist. And
So, I mean, there's that, guys. It's something, BBs. And again, don't come at me, okay? Like, I just think it's something. I'm like, okay. But at the end of the day, I mean, look at all of the things that Jax has, right? So he's now been diagnosed as bipolar, he has PTSD, he is a narcissist, he has anger issues as well. He didn't really talk about that as much in terms of what he's doing in terms of his anger, but or maybe that's part of some of his diagnoses, but he's got a lot of work to do, a lot of work to do, and I've never seen a narcissist actually change. I don't even know if that's really possible, and if it is, it probably takes a number of years and a lot of work. So, again, not here to praise Jax Taylor in any way. It's interesting to hear him say things that I never thought I would have heard him say. That being said, The Valley finished its filming just this past weekend. There was a finale party where Brittany's wearing this really beautiful purple tight dress that goes from like purple into sort of like a tannish color. It's sort of like melts from one color into the other. Really tight, beautiful. And she posted online because there was this picture that was captured of the finale party where it looks like Jax is talking to her or like getting really up in her face. And somebody was like, "Is that Brittany?" And she responded, "No, I would never let him that close to me," or something like that. So I definitely still think we're getting a really good season. So if this just finished filming this past weekend, so basically like mid-September, I'm hoping we can get this first week out of January because Vanderpump Rules hasn't started filming yet. And I did want to give you guys an update on that. Last week I was like, oh, I have no other Vanderverse updates, and I forgot to say something. So I just want to say it for the record. So a couple weeks back, I was telling you guys there was some sort of rumors out there that there was this spin-off being filmed from people that are working at other Lisa Vanderpump restaurants like Sir and Tom Tom, like people who are currently working there. And then there was another rumor that there was going to be a finale season filmed with the original cast of Vanderpump Rules. So all those things are now true. There is going to be a finale season filmed with the original cast of Vanderpump Rules, and that will start filming soon. We heard that everyone is coming back, so I don't know if that means Ariana as well, but we haven't got like official word on that. And basically, all that filming that people have seen pictures of in the back alley of Sir and stuff, basically what they're filming is like a sizzle. And a sizzle is when they sort of film to see if there's enough to get a pilot. And if there's enough to get a pilot, then it could turn into a TV show. So right now, it's not an actual TV show. They're just filming to see if there's enough there for something. And I've told you guys before, I think it's still a great idea. I still think the concept of the whole working relationships in a restaurant are a very interesting dynamic, especially in West Hollywood, especially amongst a lot of these same people, right? It's just going to have to be about the people. They just need to find the right mix of people that they just didn't find when they tried to replicate this with Vanderpump Villa. Okay, let's get into a little bit of Real Housewives of Miami news. So, Dr. Nicole Martin is unfortunately not going to be coming back to the show in a full-time capacity. So, she made this statement on Instagram last week. So, she said, taking a moment to shine a light on something I've been quietly navigating in my personal life. On March 26th, we proudly welcomed our daughter, baby Genevieve, arriving 5 weeks ahead of schedule and spending almost 2 weeks in the NICU. After this pregnancy, I started to suffer from significant postpartum anxiety, something new that I did not experience with my previous pregnancy. It all started about a week after giving birth when I found myself having an overwhelming sense of worry and fear out of nowhere. It felt like my mind was constantly on high alert, panicked and worrying endlessly about the health of my baby, myself, and my family. Postpartum anxiety is more common than we hear about, and it's crucial that we talk about it openly. 1 in 5 mothers experience mental health disorders during or after pregnancy, with most issues going unreported and untreated. By sharing our experiences, we can offer each other comfort and strength and remind one another that we're not alone. This is part of my life that I am learning to navigate, and it's been an emotional roller coaster. Given where I am right now, I have decided not to return to the Real Housewives of Miami as a full time cast member. Prioritizing my health and my family is something that I need to do at this moment. It's a step towards healing and finding balance, and I hope you can understand and support this choice. Thank you for being a part of this journey with me and for creating a space where I feel comfortable sharing these parts of my life. I hope that my openness can help others who might be struggling and encourage us all to support one another throughout our most challenging times. With love, Nicole. So, I mean, of course, this makes so much sense because there was speculation last week that she had taken the Real Housewives of Miami out of her bio on Instagram. So people were wondering if she was coming back. And honestly, like I've never been pregnant, so I can't speak to postpartum struggles, but I have gone through anxiety and depression myself, and I know how horrible it can be and how debilitating it can be, and I can understand how her anxiety could only be worsened by going into those toxic situations on the show. It only makes sense. But it sucks because she's so mature and grounded, and I've always really, really loved her on the show for that. Like, she's so insanely rich, but you would never know it because she has such a beautiful heart, and she's always finds the way to bring the group back together. I feel like, how are we gonna bring Mom Talk back together? But, I hope that the show can really survive without her. And when she said she's not coming back in a full-time capacity, I wonder if we'll still see her as maybe a friend of, but I guess time will tell. But it's totally understandable what she's saying, and she has to put her own priorities and her family first. So let's get into the Real Housewives of OC, and we'll go over main takeaways. So I'll start with episode 9 from last week, because as I said, I skipped it. So I just want to say that I'm really interested in Heather's, family dynamic and how all of her kids are different genders and sexualities. And she said that the move to LA, we were sitting there making fun of her with all the houses and all the things she has, but she says that there's actually more inclusive opportunities for her kids in LA. And like she may be out of touch and like fancy, but guys, like she really is an amazing mom. And as I've said many times, I don't have all the history. I haven't watched all the seasons, but I am starting to go back and watch from the beginning of OC. um, Maybe not the full beginning, maybe season 5 or 6 I'll start at. Like, it's a lot to get through, but she really is a good mom. Like, if I told my mom, to be honest, like, if I told my mom I was gay or trans, like, there would not be that kind of support whatsoever. And Heather, like, not only supports, but she also wants to set them up for success, and she really celebrates them, and I really love that about her. Like, she just wants to protect her kids, but then she says she doesn't wanna tell their stories for them. She says she wants to let them find their paths, but doesn't wanna hide them, but then doesn't want to exploit them, so it's a dance. And, like, I don't know, like, I think it sort of comes down to what they feel comfortable with, and they're at least old enough to tell her. So, if they're comfortable with the way she's portraying them on the show, in contradiction to how Tamara is displaying Sydney on the show or talking about Sydney on the show, despite Sydney saying, "Stop talking about me," that's a different story. Heather is not doing things that her kids are asking her not to do on TV. So we have Jen calling Katie to tell her that she's not going to be going to Sonoma with the group because there's like a cast trip to Sonoma that we're going to get into, because she's going to court for temporary child support and alimony. And she said that it took 4 years to get this court date. And I'm like really confused about that because child support is a priority for the courts, and it's also mandatory that fathers pay child support. So, like, what's going on here? Like, and what does Will do now? Because he worked for her family, but then he couldn't afford to pay for half of Jen's rent for the house that she was living in. But then she ends up getting 6 grand a month with 5 kids. And I know that like the courts like use a formula. We talked about this last week with Jax and Brittany. Like the courts use a formula to determine the amount of child support, and it has a lot to do with the dad's income. So 6 grand a month makes me think like he doesn't have a lot of money, but I'm just really confused about this whole situation. Okay, so then there's a cast trip to Sonoma to attend an event for an organization called Family Equality that Heather's a part of. And while they're like on their way there, everybody's talking about how Alexis and Johnny had their first red carpet debut. And Shannon like can't believe it because after he said he was breaking up with her for how public she is, and then they do this red carpet thing, which is so funny. Then Jen gets to Sonoma and she says how Will won't even look at her, and how the last time she was at that courthouse with him was when she and Will adopted their son. And like it is really sad, but like at the end of the day, if like he needs to hate her to get through it, like that's his choice. And, like of course it would be easier if they got along, but I really think it's like an anomaly when you see these like blended families that all really just all get along together. Like that would be amazing, but I understand why he's still very hurt. She did cheat on him and, cause him pain, and maybe this is just his way, right? I don't know. So then the ladies go to a spa and drink some tea prior to their massages when they're on this whole trip in Sonoma. And Shannon gets a call from her lawyer who said that John wouldn't accept her offer, which was about half. And you'll remember he's suing her for $75,000. And then Gina, in this moment at the spa, accidentally tells Shannon about the videos. And Shannon, of course, breaks down and she looks just so fragile. And like Emily tries to convince her to just pay him because she physically cannot endure the stress associated with going to court. And like for Shannon, she's saying like it's the principle, but as someone myself who is currently raging through life right now, like I understand, like just letting him get away with it. Like I have to say, just as an aside, this man is really abusing the court system. Like it is very privileged if the worst thing that has ever been said about you is that your ex paid for everything. Like to want to ruin someone's life and spend money and commit extortion and all of this because of some words. Like, I wonder what he would do if someone punched him in the face, right? Like, I just feel like the punishment doesn't fit the crime. And for the other women here, including Alexis, not to see what a bad person he is actually concerning and terrifying because I personally would never agree to be in a room with this person again. Like, there are people that feel anger towards their exes for like real things, like cheating, murder, I don't know, like how they treat the kids. Like, this isn't a real problem. Get a life and move on. She has not done anything to him to deserve to suffer. She is suffering in other ways for other things that she's done, but she has never done anything to him to deserve to suffer. And the irony is, in present day, he wouldn't accept her full ask with a non disparagement clause because he wants to continue to disparage her, which is the very thing that he's suing her over, right? So then Shannon goes to show Heather a photo that she took of herself the night of the DUI, where she's like bleeding and she looks like awful. There's like blood dripping down her face. And basically, she's showing this to Heather because she's saying that she texted it to John and he didn't respond. This was like obviously the night that this happened. And then at around 1:40 in the morning, he texted her and said, "What the heck is going on? The cops brought Archie here. Where are you?" So she felt like he ignored the picture and went to bed and was trying to show it to Heather as like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he did that." But the thing is, like, I mean, the picture said delivered, or she said that it said delivered, but even if it says delivered, it doesn't mean it was delivered. Like, I know it's 2024, but it does still happen all the time. Obviously, I'm not defending him. I hate this man, but I just don't think it landed the way she thought. Like, I think this was her attempt at showing that he's a bad guy, and if that's the best that she has, I'm actually disappointed. Like, I was really hoping that she'd come out with some juicy tea on the man, but fortunately not. Hopefully, there's more to come. Episode 10, we're still in Sonoma, and Emily goes to talk to Alexis to try to reason with her. And she tells Alexis that Gina brought up the videos to Shannon. Alexis feels like it's not just Shannon, and everyone shouldn't be feeling bad for Shannon. And Emily's saying, like, look, this is getting salacious, this is getting mean, like, what the hell? And Alexis is saying, like, look, the videos, they would be out there if we were trying to take her down. But like they are out there, you've talked about them, right? Like, and then Alexis just gets upset and says that Shannon is being horrible to John and lying and, upsetting her, and yet she's still trying. But how are you trying, Alexis? You have been threatening her from the jump, so I don't see how you're trying. The other girls go to a restaurant, and Shannon orders a drink, and Tamara says that she can't believe that Shannon's doing that. But she says she knows that Shannon is doing that because if she refuses alcohol, it's like her admitting that she has a problem. And this is the one time where I would agree with Tamara. This is what I think is happening because we keep seeing Shannon ordering drinks and it's like, God, Shannon, stop drinking. But I think she feels like if she says, oh, no, I can't have one, and people are like, okay, then she's saying she's an alcoholic. But that's not the case. It's totally fine not to have alcohol in every setting. No one's going to think anything of it. It's actually people are thinking more of it when you're ordering a drink every time after this incident happened, right? Again, it's the optics. And I just really wish she would look at the optics and realize she should just be taking at least a break from alcohol. But again, it's up to her. So everyone goes to dinner without Alexis, and Alexis texts Heather to say she isn't coming, and she doesn't know why Gina brought up the videos. And Shannon goes ham, and she's like, calls her like a fucking bitch for bringing them up in the first place. And like, I agree, like it's out anyways. Shannon asks everyone to not talk about John and Alexis for one night, and then she immediately tells them that he refuses to accept her offer, so she brings them up right away, which is so funny. And then the next day, Katie tells Jen that she really wants to apologize to Heather because the whole paparazzi thing, she's saying it wasn't her fault. So now she's saying that Gina told her to say the paparazzi thing and then let her get blamed for it. And I really feel like Katie should just let this go. Like, Heather invited her to this event, it was squashed, right? Like, drumming it up again is now like creating new drama. So, this just gets worse. But anyways, Heather has a fashion show where the proceeds will go to family equality. And so there's outfits for everyone, but Heather had Emily bring her own jeans, and I'm not really sure why. And then Emily ends up feeling self-conscious about her arms, and she says that she's always struggled to fit into things because her arms are big. They end up giving her like this oversized jacket, and they're using the term big a lot and oversized, and these words were just making Emily feel triggered. And I totally remember those days. I have huge arms as well, and my arms fit into nothing. Like when I was younger, I would always like try to push my arms back in photos so that you couldn't see them. And things never fit me. So I'd always have to buy like the biggest clothes to make accommodations for my arms and also my hips. So like things never fit me properly. And so I totally, totally know that pain. And I also know the pain of like when you're in a store and you're like, hey, do you have this in a large or an extra large? And you hear them yell out, size large, extra large. And it's like, did you have to yell that to the whole store? Like, does everyone need to know I'm this big? So I totally feel Emily's pain on that, especially given how amazing she looks. And it's sort of like a mind fuck for her to feel like she's still overweight when she's not. And I don't even think she ever was, to be honest. So Tamara ends up telling Heather that Gina told Katie that the whole paparazzi thing, pic thing was true, but that Gina needs to keep Heather close because of her real estate connections. So Heather's pissed and wants to talk to Gina about this later. Emily asks Shannon for the sake of the group to talk to Alexis, and Shannon says no because it's not healthy, and I totally agree. Like, Shannon has been put through the ringer with all of this. Like, can you guys imagine Ariana in this situation being forced to talk to Raquel at every situation, every event, while Raquel is suing her as well? Like, think about that, right? Look how much Shannon is being put through. She does not need to talk to Alexis Bellino. I agree. That will literally send her over the edge, and she's almost there. So the girls go to a vineyard. And Katie tells Gina that she's heard that she's being called a liar. And Gina's like, you were full on lying about like this whole thing about where you're saying I need to keep Heather close for real estate connections. And Katie says, this is what Gina said. These are the exact words. Heather and I are close. She helps me with my career. So then everyone realizes this is a totally different story than what was initially said, and what Gina said was actually kind of very nice. Gina says she's never asked Heather for any sort of real estate connections. And honestly, the fact that they're about to move past this is beyond me, because if somebody was lying about me to my face, I would probably punch them in the throat. Gina expresses that she feels really guilty when it comes to her stress with Travis. She's just really worried about him being able to work through his stuff and stay in it. And she says that Travis's divorce has been really intense, and she's been allowing him to feel his feelings and hopes that it doesn't break them. I honestly just really don't understand what's going on here. Like, or is she saying what I thought she was gonna have an issue with? Because a few weeks back, I was expressing concern that if Travis is going through all this stuff in his divorce and Gina's sort of the one that he leans on, but he's no longer living with Gina, but Gina's still his partner, so he still needs Gina to lean on. Is he feeling like he doesn't have her in the relationship as much because they're no longer living together? Like, I just don't know why she didn't think about a lot of these things, because she's mentioned that in the show. Like, yeah, I didn't really think about how much this would affect him. And then she gets a new dog basically for Travis and his kids, and then didn't think about how much that would be a pressure cooker. And of course it is. You just got a new dog. That's a huge responsibility. So I'm still really confused about how this all is going on. And we know in present day they're still together, which is great. And it's still working for them that they're living apart. But hopefully one day they are living together again. But I still would like to get more on what exactly is wrong in their relationship and why she did this. Before we end, I do just want to get on to Alexis being on Watch What Happens Live and on the Virtual Reality podcast, which is the Page Six podcast. So on that podcast, Alexis was basically trying to walk back this entire thing, saying that, John never said he was going to release these videos. He never threatened anything. We never wanted to hurt Shannon. obviously she's doing this because of all the backlash. I mean, of course, it just makes sense. But, it didn't fly by many people. So I'm going to play a clip from the virtual reality podcast so you can hear what she said about Shannon.
I didn't mean to blurt that out. I mean, some of the women in the group are very close with me and did know about the videos already, but they would never have gone there. But a lot of the time that you see me talking about John or Shannon, it's because I'm being prodded and pushed to talk about it, even though I don't want to mention it. You guys don't see that. And that night that I did mention the videos, it was late. We'd been filming all day long. I was tired, and his name and her name just kept coming up. And so I was just like, I was fed up. And I was like, and everybody's in support of Shannon. I'm like, do you need to just show the effing videos? Like, I mean, somebody needs to take accountability here, and somebody needs to get off my back. But it was just the wrong timing, and we didn't intend for it to happen like that or at all. John's in sole custody of those videos and has never once said he was going to show them or had any intentions of showing them, unless Shannon wanted to personally come sit and watch them with us. But yeah, yeah. So that is something I would put the toothpaste back in the tube about, as you heard. Yeah. I wasn't quiet about it to, like, Tamara and Heather had known about it, and because we were venting to them and trying to ask them, like, I was asking advice on them, like, how do I film with this woman? How do I do this now? Because I found out after I started filming about the videos. I didn't know prior. I don't know if I would have signed on knowing that and seeing that, all of that stuff, just knowing I had to be in the same room with her and try to work with her. But then it was too late, and I was already in.
So a few things to unpack here. What does that mean? Like, if you were never going to release the videos, then what does it matter if, like, why would you not sign on to the show if you were never going to release the videos, whether you knew about the videos or not? I also want to know why John is still having sole custody of these videos. Why is he keeping these videos? He's keeping them because he is planning to use them at some point. I think they are only now saying that they're walking this whole thing back, that he never threatened to release them, because now they're realizing it's extortion, and extortion is a crime. So now they're like, oh, no, 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 we never did that. So then on Watch What Happens Live, Johnny J is in the front row wearing a leather coat, mic'd up in like an 80s scarf. And Andy asks him, in what ways have you been disparaged? Like, what is the issue here? And he's like, well, I don't want to get into it, but I'm going to get into it. And then he says, I was disparaged because I was, told that she was my sugar mama and that she paid for everything and that I fat shamed her, and none of that happened. Again, if these are the worst things that someone has said about you, then you live a very privileged life. This is basically nothing. And I'm sure he has fat shamed her. Every man who breaks up with a woman has fat shamed her in the process of breaking up with her. I have been told, I never want to see your gigantic ass in my hallway ever again. I have been told things. I don't want to see your fat arms near me ever again. Whatever, this bullshit, right? This is what men say when they're mad at you, or they play on your deepest insecurities. She's insecure about her weight. I am sure he has said things about her weight. But the whole money thing at the beginning, she has evidence of that. And even if that's not true, who cares? If the worst thing that somebody said about you is that they paid for everything at the beginning of a relationship, like, what if someone called you a murderer? That would be like a real thing. That would be a real lie. This is so insane, and I just cannot believe this man. And again, it's so funny for him to say he doesn't want to be in the spotlight when he is sitting in the front row at Watch What Happens Live when he doesn't have to. There has been many times that Dan, Ariana's boyfriend, has been in the back room, backstage. Sometimes he comes on, sometimes he doesn't, or like in the front, but for the most part, he's backstage. He doesn't have to sit front row, and he doesn't have to be mic'd either. So this man just continues to want to talk about her. It's not her, and I am just so sick of these two. So I believe the virtual reality podcast also asked Alexis if she's hoping to get an orange next time or next year, and you could hear the defeat in her voice, where she just basically knows that this is the end of the day for her because the fans are just so unhappy with her. So that's basically all I think I have to tell you guys for today. I do just want to apologize if my voice sounded a little like dry, like my mouth is super dry today. I don't know why. Just really dehydrated. So I'm sorry if it sounded a little smacky or anything today. I will work on my hydration for next time. Have a good one, BBs. Thank you for listening. This show is brought to you in partnership with Hurrdat Media. If you want to listen to this show or any other episode, you can do that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Hurrdat Media's YouTube channel to watch my full-length video podcast episodes. You can follow me on Instagram at I Take Bravo Very Seriously and at The Bravo Investigator. You can follow me on TikTok at The Bravo Investigator. Head to buymeacoffee.com/I Take Bravo Very Seriously to buy me a coffee. Join the Patreon at patreon.com/I Take Bravo Very Seriously for 4 extra mini episodes a month, early episodes, ad-free, Q&A, and exclusive access to bonus content. If you enjoyed the show, please leave me a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.
A Hurrdat Media Production.